Antiochus and his other 7,000 thugs has taken a risk. He challenged our stance in Mesopotamia, trying to make a daring crossing at one of the easiest places to reach the other side. It was a unique place as it possessed 3 different crossing points. Aristophanes had deployed most of his men near the western bridge, right opposite of the Seleucid position. However, he had also deployed a smaller contingent further down the river, expecting them to link up with Jason. He would lead a surprise attack from the other side of the river, hoping to trap the Seleucids upon the bridge itself. Yet this was not without cost, as this left Aristophanes overwhelmingly outnumbered. By the time Jason finally arrived, most of the Egyptian men were either dead or routed. But thanks to this brilliant maneuver, which completely surprised the Seleucids, we managed to break the spirit and win the battle, killing the infamous successor Antiochus himself. How fitting is it that it was Jason who killed both the heir and now also the ruler of the Seleucid dynasty. It was at a high price though, as we had lost almost 3,000 men. On the positive side, this showed the true weakness of the Seleucids to the entire world. Without a man to lead them, our former ally the Atropatene Khan rebelled against the overlords, declaring independence and thus joining us in our success. It was the greatest unexpected outcome we could have hoped for. Yet these losses still meant following up on our victory with an invasion was impossible, forcing us to return home and replenish. Lysimachus, however, who by now had returned from Arabia, did have the numbers to keep up the pressure. Besides, the Seleucids were making a move for our client state, who we have pledged to protect. My grand quest to acquire every major wonder in the entire world has reached a major boost. Through research, we've learned how to restore and improve these major landmarks of the world. We obviously had to start with the pyramids, the pride of our nation. Same for the Oracle of Ammon in Libya. It was rather expensive, meaning we couldn't do much more than continue to develop our second army in Gaul. After having defeated the Roman forces outside the port of Carthage, the Achilles fleet knew the major capital was practically unguarded. It was like stealing land from the Seleucids, meaning we now rule over the Pearl of Africa. First thing we did here was instantly to demolish the barracks in favor of a temple worshipping proper gods. It was all with the intent to minimize the risk of a rebellion, and if so, the amount of equipment they could gather. Thapsus was liberated not long after, becoming an independent state. Africa was saved from the Roman invasion. From this new extremely powerful position, we sent out a newly recruited scout to survey Sicily for any future potential invasion plans. 2 armies had already gathered here, but we still have some time before they would even dare to attack us. Midsummer, Ptolemy had made a bold journey. Knowing the Massalians still lingered inland meant his job wasn't done. But getting that far in is challenging, especially once the snow starts to fall. By now we start to see major cultural difficulties back home. To be more specific, Syria had turned into a violent land of unrest, with every culture fighting one another for dominance. Jason went up there to patrol the province, but this was just the start of a long and difficult problem. Speaking of problems, the young, foolish prince Lysimachus came into contact with another Seleucid army. Its size carried little significance, yet they still managed to cause major casualties on our army. This poor boy's streak of terrible battles can't seem to end. Once more, we were forced to return home. At least Lysimachus and his companions improved in skill, while himself and his men became more patriotic. This massive cultural conflict we have growing throughout most of our kingdom kept getting worse. So much in fact, we decided to exempt multiple provinces from taxes just to gain some form of stability. However, the problem is that our most crucial provinces, such as the Syrian farmlands, Ornapatan and Libyan commercial centers, suffered the most from cultural difficulties. and as we couldn't relieve them from taxes, we had a massive problem on our hands. We did eventually try to solve the problem by downgrading the housing facilities in most of the towns in Syria to see if that worked. It didn't. Back in Gaul, our trustworthiness had finally recovered. The Seleucids accepted us once more as their protectorate, out of sheer love for us. Maybe also because we had an army outside their homes, but whatever. This meant that we could now levy units from their barracks too, which we obviously would make good use of. Further inland, Ptolemy had reached an obstacle. If he wanted to reach Nemosus to defeat the Massalians, he had to cross Averni land, but their stubbornness and aggressive stance discouraged them from signing any military access pact. Screw them, I say, as this is for the greater good for both of us. We encamped near a large river crossing as our scouts realized the Massalians far outnumbered us. Apparently we were so threatening, these cowards again begged for mercy. Fools. The winter was rough on us, yet it lowered the guards on the Massalian forces within the Alps, allowing Damianus to assassinate them. Seeing this as a sign in our favor, Ptolemy challenged the odds and attacked the gold mines. The deep snow turned into our advantage as the Massalians tried to sally out and attack us. But we could just take them down with our prestige marksmen and cavalry. Our Galatians blocked off the path along the town to envelop the garrison so we could grind them down from all sides. Eventually we discovered the majority of the enemy army actually approached from the right, meaning we had to redeploy most of our men to that front. Fortunately, we could use the houses as a natural flank for our units, and after that it was just pure chaos. After this heroic victory, this war was as good as over. So we sacked the town and encamped for the rest of the winter, well aware the Massalians had nothing left. This gold we stole from this attack we invested into restoring our famous lighthouse of Alexandria. Over time it will improve our wealth from maritime commerce and nationwide tariff income. Brilliant! Finally, having had enough and seen their wrongdoings of this world, the new Seleucid ruler officially surrendered. Seeing this as a great opportunity for peace with most of our armies ruined, we signed the deal. Another war between the Diadochi is over. This also meant we could now have a more extensive focus on the other Arabic states who wronged us so long ago. On his way back to the coastline, Ptolemy wanted to break the last Greek army still standing. It wasn't really all that hard as we assassinated the general just before the attack. As that was done, the Avernians reclaimed their former gold mines, meaning our task inland was complete. Now all we had left to do was take down the Vivitsky to the west of our colony. Just like the rest of our enemies, they tried to sign a peace deal. And as I was in my merciful corner, I said I'll agree to it if they became a client state. Which was too high of a demand apparently. They tried to perform the same attack on our client state as before, but this time we were ready, repelling them back into their own lands. By this point we started to migrate our armies into the desert lands in order to prepare our invasion. All we left in the north was a single army led by Aristophanes. This meant we will have 3 armies for our conquest of Arabia. Junior, Jason and Lysimachus. Okay, 2.5 then. It will take some time before they are all ready, so that in the meantime our Gallic armies will push for the coastal fortress Gaul. This was the last hideout for the Vivitsky, which we had to take. It did mean we would leave our ports vulnerable, but the Roman fleets and their armies were all in the south. Not wanting the Romans to contest the seas, we sent our 2 navies outside the port it was stocked in to keep them locked in. No doubt they'll try to attack us, but we'll just construct a shrine of Athena in Carthage to bless our progress. And as expected, they attacked with full force. This time it was the infamous and dreaded war veteran Scipio who was in charge of this attack. However, unlike before, we were now ready to face him. Initially both fleets waited for their individual reinforcements. However, as the Romans aggressively started to push on our side, we had to use our smaller, more mobile ships to engage their larger triremes. They gave us a bit of trouble, yet as they sank to the bottom of the sea, we only had to worry about the last few ships approaching way too late. This stunning victory in theory meant we halted a Roman invasion of Africa before it actually took place. Now that is a sign of power. At this point in time, the well-known character within the Egyptian world, Cleopatra, had risen to power. She joined the royal court at the age of merely 18. She can't lead an army or do anything significant, but it was still worth mentioning. Jason had finally linked up with Junior, meaning all we were waiting for to attack the Arabian states was Lysimachus. He will probably stay back and stop any counterattacks from within the deep desert. The pharaoh, however, was well determined on getting into combat with the Vivitsky, taking full command over the siege of their major settlement. Their port access meant they could easily bring in supplies, a minor concern as to save them from attrition, which we still will take. Honestly, I was a bit surprised that Averni didn't want to assist in our siege, but so be it. In Syria, things were almost in a breaking point. The public order is terrible, making many fear of a future rebellion. We tried to organize games, worldwide I might add, as this wasn't just a problem in this province alone. But the cost of doing so was immense. It dried up our treasury each quarter, leaving us without any option for investments. And that was when we came up with a possible idea. Egypt proper was the only province with overwhelming happiness, mostly due to the 4 governors stationed in each region, no doubt. So we decided to split them up, sending them out to each of the most problematic provinces each, leaving only 2 of them back. However, this also meant the mass production these governors encouraged was lost, leading to the largest economic crisis Egypt had ever seen.